The crowd burst into laughter the moment the rusty car rolled onto the starting grid. Thousands of people had gathered for the biggest amateur racing event in the state, a competition with a staggering $5 million grand prize. Sleek sports cars worth hundreds of thousands of dollars gleamed under the morning sun. Their polished bodies reflected the cameras, the banners, and the excited faces of spectators. Then, among them, came a battered machine assembled from old scrap parts, its faded paint peeling away like forgotten memories. Standing beside that car was a tired-looking single father wearing worn work boots and a jacket that had clearly seen better days. The laughter grew louder when one of the event sponsors, a wealthy CEO known for his arrogance and luxury lifestyle, openly mocked him in front of everyone. No one knew that before the day ended, that same crowd would be standing in stunned silence. And no one knew that the man they laughed at was about to teach the world a lesson worth far more than $5 million. Before we begin, if you believe kindness matters more than wealth, and if you believe everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that touch the heart. Ethan Carter had never dreamed of becoming famous. His life revolved around one thing: raising his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving Ethan alone to navigate a world that suddenly felt empty and overwhelming. During the day, he worked long hours repairing engines in a small garage. At night, he cooked dinner, helped Lily with homework, and tried to be both father and mother to a little girl who still missed her mom every single day. Money was always tight. There were weeks when Ethan skipped meals so Lily could have everything she needed. He wore the same old clothes year after year and drove a truck so old it rattled like a toolbox whenever it moved. Yet despite all the hardship, Lily rarely saw him complain. She often found him smiling even on difficult days. That smile came from a promise he had made to his late wife. No matter how hard life became, he would never let their daughter lose hope. One evening, while fixing a customer's engine, Ethan heard a radio advertisement about the annual Iron Horizon race. The event had become legendary over the years. Ordinary people could enter, but the competition attracted wealthy hobby racers, sponsored drivers, and automotive enthusiasts from across the country. This year, the prize had reached $5 million. Most listeners laughed at the idea of entering. Ethan listened carefully. $5 million wasn't just money. It was Lily's future. College. Security. A home free from constant financial stress. A chance to stop worrying every time a bill arrived. The thought settled deep inside his heart. That night, after Lily went to bed, he walked into his cluttered backyard. Behind the garage sat an old rusted car frame he had been collecting parts for over several years. Most people would have called it junk. To Ethan, it looked like possibility. For months, he worked every spare moment. After finishing 12-hour shifts, he returned home and spent hours rebuilding the vehicle under a single hanging light. Neighbors often shook their heads. Friends quietly suggested he was wasting his time. But Lily never doubted him. Every night she sat nearby doing homework while her father tightened bolts, repaired wiring, and rebuilt components salvaged from scrapyards. Sometimes she handed him tools. Sometimes she simply watched. And every time he felt exhausted, he looked at her and kept going. Slowly, the impossible began taking shape. The car wasn't beautiful. Its panels came from different vehicles. Its engine had been rebuilt from discarded parts. Its seats were patched together. But beneath the rough exterior was something special. Ethan had spent years repairing engines for others. He understood machines in a way few people did. Every component had been carefully tuned. Every weakness had been addressed. What looked like scrap metal hid extraordinary engineering. Months later, race day arrived. The moment Ethan drove onto the event grounds, people stared. Luxury trailers lined the parking areas. Professional crews moved around expensive racing machines. Everything looked polished and elite. His vehicle looked like it belonged in a junkyard. Then came the humiliation. One of the event's sponsors, billionaire CEO Victor Reynolds, spotted Ethan's car and began laughing. Victor was famous for his wealth, private jets, and luxury automotive company. Surrounded by cameras and reporters, he pointed toward the patched-up vehicle. The crowd joined his amusement. People snapped photos. Some recorded videos. Others whispered jokes. Victor's laughter spread like wildfire through the venue. To them, Ethan wasn't a competitor. He was entertainment. But Ethan remained calm. Years of struggle had taught him something important. People who judge others rarely know the battles hidden beneath the surface. As he completed registration, he noticed Lily watching everything. The mockery hurt her far more than it hurt him. Her eyes filled with disappointment. Not because of the crowd. Because they were disrespecting her father. Ethan knelt beside her. He reminded her that character isn't measured by what people say about you. It's measured by how you respond. Lily nodded. Though still upset, she found comfort in his quiet confidence. The race began the next morning. The course stretched across hundreds of miles, combining speed, endurance, technical driving, and mechanical reliability. Many competitors relied on expensive equipment. Ethan relied on preparation. The opening stage shocked everyone. Several luxury vehicles surged ahead. But Ethan remained surprisingly close behind. Commentators initially assumed it was luck. By midday, they realized something else was happening. His car wasn't fast because it was expensive. It was fast because it was efficient. Every modification served a purpose. Every part worked in harmony. While others burned fuel aggressively and pushed their machines beyond limits, Ethan drove with remarkable precision. By the end of the first day, he had climbed into the top 20. The crowd's laughter began fading. The second day proved even harder. Rough terrain destroyed several high-performance vehicles. Mechanical failures eliminated multiple favorites. One wealthy racer withdrew after an engine breakdown. Another crashed while attempting an aggressive overtake. Meanwhile, Ethan kept moving forward. Years of repairing broken machines had taught him how to build one that could survive punishment. His car absorbed challenge after challenge. As competitors dropped out, he continued climbing the leaderboard. Top 20 became top 10. Top 10 became top 5. Suddenly, reporters wanted interviews. The same people who had ignored him now wanted his story. Across social media, clips of the "scrap car dad" began spreading rapidly. Millions watched his journey. Millions rooted for him. People recognized something authentic in Ethan. He wasn't racing for fame. He wasn't racing for ego. He was racing for his daughter. That purpose resonated deeply with audiences everywhere. Victor Reynolds watched with growing frustration. The man he had publicly mocked was becoming the event's biggest story. Sponsors shifted attention. Fans celebrated Ethan's perseverance. News outlets featured his background. The narrative was changing. The billionaire CEO no longer looked impressive. The struggling single father did. On the final day, only 3 racers remained in serious contention. One was a professional driver backed by major sponsors. Another was a wealthy entrepreneur with cutting-edge technology. The third was Ethan Carter. The final stage pushed drivers to their limits. Rain began falling. Visibility dropped. Roads became slippery and dangerous. The race transformed into a brutal test of patience and courage. Halfway through the stage, disaster struck. Ethan's car suffered damage after hitting debris. A suspension component bent dangerously. Spectators feared his race was over. For a moment, Ethan pulled to the side. The dream that had carried him for months seemed to be slipping away. $5 million. Lily's future. Everything appeared lost. Then he remembered the countless nights spent in the backyard. The sacrifices. The promise to his wife. The faith his daughter had placed in him. Giving up wasn't an option. Working quickly beneath the pouring rain, Ethan improvised a repair using spare materials he had packed himself. The solution wasn't elegant. It wasn't pretty. But it worked. Minutes later, he returned to the course. The comeback electrified audiences. People who had never met him found themselves cheering. They saw a reflection of their own struggles. Bills. Loss. Failure. Setbacks. The endless challenges life throws at ordinary people. Ethan represented resilience. As the finish line approached, only seconds separated the leaders. The crowd stood. Commentators shouted. Hearts raced. The professional driver made a costly mistake entering a sharp corner. The entrepreneur's vehicle lost traction. Suddenly, a narrow opening appeared. Ethan seized it. His rebuilt machine surged forward. For one breathtaking moment, everything seemed suspended in time. The battered scrap car moved ahead. The finish line rushed closer. Thousands held their breath. Then it happened. Ethan crossed first. The stadium erupted. People screamed, cried, and celebrated. The impossible had become reality. The single father with the backyard scrap car had won $5 million. But the most emotional moment came afterward. As cameras surrounded him and reporters pushed forward, Ethan ignored the spotlight. Instead, he searched for one person. Lily. When he finally found her, she ran into his arms. The tears neither of them could hold back said everything. Years of hardship. Years of sacrifice. Years of uncertainty. All released in a single embrace. The crowd watched silently. Many wiped away tears. Even people who knew nothing about racing understood the significance of that moment. This wasn't merely a sporting victory. It was a father's love made visible. It was proof that determination can overcome ridicule. It was evidence that hope remains powerful even when circumstances seem impossible. Over the following months, Ethan used the prize money exactly as people expected. He secured Lily's education. Paid off debts. Bought a modest home. Expanded his garage business. He didn't purchase mansions. He didn't chase luxury. He built stability. Meanwhile, the story continued inspiring millions. Schools invited him to speak. Communities celebrated his example. People facing difficult situations found encouragement in his journey. As for Victor Reynolds, the CEO who had laughed, his public image suffered greatly. Many remembered his mockery. Many remembered Ethan's humility. Eventually, Victor issued an apology. Whether it came from genuine reflection or public pressure, only he truly knew. But Ethan accepted it anyway. Because carrying resentment would only weigh down the future he had worked so hard to create. Before we reach the ending, I have a special request for you. Please comment below. Never judge a person by their circumstances. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like the video, share it with family and friends, and subscribe to support more stories that inspire hope and kindness. Years later, people still talked about the race. Not because of the prize money. Not because of the speed. Not because of the headlines. They remembered it because it revealed something beautiful about the human spirit. The world often celebrates wealth, appearance, and status. But true greatness usually hides in ordinary places. Sometimes it stands in a small garage after midnight. Sometimes it works long hours without recognition. Sometimes it sacrifices comfort for family. And sometimes it arrives at a starting line in a rusty car built from scraps while everyone else laughs. The crowd had seen a pile of metal. They had seen worn clothes. They had seen poverty. What they failed to see was courage. What they failed to see was love. What they failed to see was a father who refused to quit. And in the end, that made all the difference. Because the strongest engines are not always found under expensive hoods. The greatest victories are not always achieved by the richest people. And the most extraordinary stories often begin with someone everyone else underestimated. The CEO laughed at a single dad's backyard scrap car. But by the end of the race, the world stood and applauded the man behind the wheel.